Okay, welcome back to the Saturday Night Horror Movie Club. We had a little bit of difficulty choosing a movie tonight. I will accept most of the blame. I moved through the Roku remote way too fast. So we've selected tonight, though, The Night House, which I've seen lots of previews for, and so it looks like a pretty good flick. Before we start, we just watched the trailer. What do you guys have thoughts about based on what you saw in the trailer?
Well, I think we were all in the mood for something with a little bit of a budget tonight. So.
Yeah. Not nearly enough alcohol to be watching a bad movie tonight. So.
Yep. It was one on my radar already anyway. So.
Yeah. So, your thoughts, Tom?
Well, I always like the person by themselves getting terrorized.
Yeah.
So, however, I think that's going to be more. I don't really think it's funny. I think it's going to be.
Yeah. The trailer seems to indicate almost like parallel realities or something like that, or something. Or so it'll be interesting to see what our thoughts are on that. But we also can't start the night without our libations. I am still on an extended dry period until Christmas, so I'm having Schweppes Zero Sugar Ginger Ale. So Chuck and Tom, you can regale us with your
I had some stuff. I have a new Southern Tier Distillery or brewing company or whatever. Their new creme brulee whiskey. I left it at home. We'll have to save it for the next event. Maybe we'll do it, after the Christmas.
There you go.
I've had this for a while. I'm finally drinking it, and this is actually really darn good. Doc's Draft Framboise Raspberry Hard Apple Cider. It's actually very good.
I'm actually going back to the old school one.
Oh, nice.
It's Christmas time. It's time to.
I'll hit that up after we're done.
Enjoy some of the basics.
Very cool. Before we begin, very quickly, any horror movies on the horizon you guys are interested in? Let me do a quick review.
Well, I'll just mention a quick review. I did see Antlers recently.
What did you think about that?
I really liked it. So our schedules just have not aligned lately, so we've been catching separate movies.
Yep.
I caught Antlers and you guys did not. I do recommend it. Just as a quick recap of Antlers. I mentioned to you, Kevin, recently when I seen it, and I said it was an hour and 40 minute movie that would have been excellent with a 2-hour movie. It feels like there was probably a director's cut that was about 2 hours long. They cut down a little bit on maybe the interactions with the town, I'm guessing, and also a little bit on the relationship and the troubles with the main characters and how it connects to the horror of the monster. It feels like if they had kind of dove into those elements a little bit more. Now, maybe I'll do a review for Do the Best, a kind of an in-depth review, but it feels like it would have been solid movie if they'd done that. Without those parts, it was okay. It was good. I will listen. It was good. It's definitely worth a watch. If you can watch it on streaming when it comes out, yeah, it's worth watching.
Cool. What about you, Tom? Any movies you're looking forward to?
Well, you do have Scream 5.
Yes, that's the one I was going to say.
And I think someone is going to die, like one of the main.
One of the original cast is got to die. Yeah.
And I'm not kind of looking forward to it because I kind of noticed that now, since I was enjoying some of that foreign market horror, that the U.S. quickly is jumping out, and I think there's possibly they're going to do an American remake of Train to Busan.
I heard about that. Yeah.
It's just, it's not going to be.
Have you seen the sequel to Train to Busan? I think that came out, right?
No, I saw reviews of it.
Peninsula.
Okay. I mean, there's more movies than there's story. Horror movie.
Yeah.
The original Train to Busan was.
I messed with the original. So, obviously, looking forward to Scream. This might not necessarily seem like an obvious choice, but everyone's been saying all along that it's going to be a horror movie, and that is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. They've been saying that this is supposed to be the first Marvel MCU horror movie.
Based on the rumors, and it is rumors.
Really looking forward to that.
It sounds like they were going full in on the horror. They maybe dialed it back a little bit, but they're still supposed to be in that creepy realm. And I would love to see that. I was excited when Doctor Strange first came out, and then a little bit disappointed with the actual movie.
I loved it, but
it was good. But I've seen I'm thinking there's like one animated series or show they did with Doctor Strange, and it has that potential to get really dark and really creepy. And I felt like they went a little bit more familiar compared to the other Marvel movies.
Right.
I would have liked to see Doctor Strange go way out there. I'm kind of hoping that when they bring him back, they will go to that level.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, so we're going to dive into the Night House, and as always, we'll stop in around 20 minutes. We'll take we'll stop in about halfway through, and then toward the end, and maybe halfway through, we'll throw in some more mini reviews of other stuff we've watched. So here we go, diving into the Night House. Okay, so we're about 20 minutes into the Night House. What are our thoughts so far, Chuck?
I'm loving it. I love psychological horror. A bit trippy right now. They have some good tension and suspense built up. They haven't revealed a whole lot, so I don't know where it's going, but that's actually a good sign. I don't want to know where it's going yet. I want to be puzzled.
Yeah. What do you think, Tom?
I am starting to enjoy it. I mean, I don't want to give away too much, but just woman's husband for suicide, and it's also very hard for her. And unfortunately, now things are going on that's going to make her start questioning reality, I think. Maybe on a personal note, I love how she really shut down the student's mother.
Well, as teachers, we probably have a personal feeling about that. Yeah. There's a lot of great atmosphere. I like where this is going. Like Chuck said, there's some interesting, surreal things that are happening here with not a lot of, I don't think I'm sitting here going, oh, I know what this is going to be. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
We don't know if it's supernatural, paranormal. We don't know if it's psychological. We don't know. It could be
a whole host of things.
Yeah, a lot of different stuff is going on.
So we'll be back about halfway through, and our halfway through mark will also offer some quickie reviews of some of the things we've read and watched recently. So, okay, we'll see you then. All right, so we're about half.
Guys, this is actually a Clifton Heights story. We just realized that.
I did reference Utica, which is within throwing stones of Clifton Heights. So
sorry, Kevin.
That's all right. That's okay.
I was geeking out. Clifton Heights Universe story.
I don't think anyone's going to be geeking out over my stories anytime soon. So we're about halfway through the Night House. What are you guys thinking so far?
I am liking it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because with this type of story, there's mystery. So I think a lot of people are trying to figure it out. Chuck earlier said my idea, but I'll have to see how it does pan out. I might not be completely anything. I am starting to very good atmosphere, very good scare.
I'm loving it. It's definitely in my interest field, I guess, for horror. This is the kind of, one of the types of movies I like. Rebecca Hall's doing a great job. I commented while we were watching the movie that they actually made her smart. It's impressive to actually have someone who puts things together and then figures out and then takes some initiative. A lot of horror films, especially more of the schlocky ones, they feel like they're just kind of pulled through it to experience something horrible.
Yeah.
I feel like this is actually a well-written protagonist who's actually digging into something and doing a good job of it, and it's kind of neat to see. As for where I think it's going, I'm still not entirely sure if this can be supernatural, paranormal, psychological. I do kind of, spoiler tag there. I do think there's something to do with the fact that they mentioned she had died for a few minutes. There was also the fact that they're leaning very heavily at this point that her husband has double life. That's what she's drawing the conclusion of. I think it's pretty clear that there's more to it than what she sees.
Yeah.
I think they're going to make him look bad, or it seemed like he might have been a bad character, but I think there's going to be a redeeming arc for him.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, I think there's something going on where it's more of the protector role. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think Tom said it perfectly about the fact that there's a mystery involved. There's all sorts of different types of horror. I still maintain that horror is one of the most diverse genres there are. There are. Anyway, there will be. There will have been. So yeah, but I think that's when you have a horror story, and I remember reading this a couple of years ago in The Philosophy of Horror by Noel Carroll, which is a philosophical look at horror. That when you have that mystery component, that's when you have horror movies that exceed when you're talking about the audience, like people who really, really like it, that's when the reach exceeds just horror fans, because the more there's something there to unpuzzle, the greater, like, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to watch this movie who maybe aren't horror fans, but they're going to be like, what's going on? And that intellectual act of solving a puzzle is really important part of it.
Secretly make horror fans. You gotta sneak it in. You gotta like little horror
Bring
comedy,
in the horror and the
little horror
side,
mystery, little horror sci-fi.
So we thought we'd stop in the middle here too. We're kind of experimenting with a new format where we watch a movie and then we sideload things as we're watching the movie. One interesting topic.
Haven't had any drinks that we're experimenting. I'm in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So one thing that we were talking about actually during one of the breaks is the because we were debating, is this horror, is it supernatural, is it paranormal, is it supranatural? So and Tom's like, what does all that mean?
Yes.
What does it mean? Supernatural. Chuck, why don't you try to spitball an explanation of all that?
Well, this one also comes up especially a lot in fantasy genre as well. There's no clear line. The line will change, and actually some people will draw the line and want to put A, B, and want to put B, A. So the definition isn't specific, but generally it comes down to where the unearthly power comes from. Supernatural, a lot of it comes down to more mystical, magical, could be, well, I think a lot of times they put that into paranormal. And I think it's this alternate normal. It's not necessarily, I think, for people who kind of draw the line that way, I think they tend to put super as in elevate. So like magical power, like fireballs, it's like, it's cool stuff. It's like, I'm gonna do something amazing with this magical power. Supernatural would be superheroes. They line up that way as well. Whereas paranormal is a twist on the normal. They tend to lean on the normal part of the word. So a lot of times, especially if it's more, spooky, ghost stories, demon stories tend to fall into paranormal. They definitely overlap. But I think that's usually where I see the line drawn most of the time. Is that way. But what about you, Kevin?
So one thing I've heard a lot of is the idea of the supranormal, and this is probably just splitting hairs. All this is, but so we've got ghosts, demons, spirits, things like that. You've got magic, things like that. But magic, and then just simply like supranormal would be like, for example, ghosts, the soul, the spirit haunting, or are they reflections of some sort of quantum echo, alternate dimension? The idea that supranormal is not, it's just simply a part of nature that we don't understand yet. Not that it's from beyond this, but so it's interesting because we've got the idea of the two houses. They seem to be backwards, but we did find the voodoo doll.
Yep.
So we're like not sure what's going on here. What's really nice is it just seems to be a nice blend of everything.
Yeah. And I'll say I agree with you. It is splitting hairs, to some extent. The reason it comes up with us is because fans will debate on paranormal, supernatural, and then because of that, authors will have to try to find their audience, and then we have to try to make sure our definitions align. And that's exactly
about that.
Yeah.
That could explain my lack of success there.
It probably has affected me more just because of. Did you have a question, Tom?
No, I was just wondering.
Yeah. No, but
it comes more a fantasy writer.
Horror fantasy,
writer, so
that's why I did mention fantasy.
I don't need to worry about jumping.
I do see it more in fantasy circles than in horror circles. And it is a matter of the authors trying to find and align with their audience and have the same definition of their audience. Sometimes I also see it in award ceremonies that come up each year. When they kind of split into categories, there may be a category that says paranormal, and it lumps paranormal in with, maybe horror, maybe not, and then there's supernatural, and then everyone's asking, I have a story that fits both. Which one do I go into? So that's why I've run into it before. That's why the definition matters to it. Matters. It is splitting hairs, but when it comes to marketing books, it comes up.
So at this halfway point, we'll do some brief reviews of things that we've watched. Tom, have you seen anything recently you want to do a brief review on?
One on Blood Red Sky.
Oh.
British, German horror show, I guess you call it, directed by one. Sorry, I'm writing Peter Thorwitz, one Harry Baumeister.
Is this the one that was on the plane? Heard good things about that.
It was
very British
a
things.
quick synopsis on this one. A woman and her son are taking a transatlantic flight from Germany to New York because she has to undergo some treatment. They said for leukemia, but it turns out she suffers from vampirism.
Oh, I
yeah.
saw the trailer for this.
Yeah,
This looked interesting.
Unfortunately, hijackers take over the plane,
Mm-hmm.
and in order to save her son, unfortunately, she has to give in to trying to control her son. And that's a good flashback as well to when her husband died, and her son was just a baby, and then she attracted vampirism as well. And it was really good, of course, being on a plane itself is very claustrophobic. They were dealing with these hijackers who were actually going to blow up the plane because they were trying to mess with the stock market or something. So she has a lot to do, and
As you do.
it was good. They had some good. It was a very good story because you're essentially rooting for the monster here.
Yeah, nice.
Because I mean, the monster is trying to retain her humanity.
Nice.
I thought it was a good movie, and I think you should check it out. It was a good one.
It was on my radar. I'm glad to hear that you liked it.
Cool.
I want to do a movie review. I already talked about Antlers earlier. I will do a book review.
Go ahead.
So I actually read The Ruins recently. I'm gonna give it okay. I'm gonna put a flag on that one. It's gonna be a book that's gonna be great for some people. I've heard great things about it, so I dove in. I will say this. I should have looked it up. I think Scott Smith, I think it is. Yep, Scott Smith. He's the author. Scott Smith is a great writer. I will say that. The writing is fantastic. The prose, the characterization is all very, very good. So no questions there. He did a good job. It wasn't the story for me. It's not, they're not characters that are on spring break and kind of the spoiled rich kids on spring break, that go down to Mexico and have a good time and then it goes terribly wrong. But it's pretty darn close to that. It is some kind of well-to-do, fairly wealthy. Now, economics is a big thing, but obviously they can just take off a couple weeks in Mexico. They're doing pretty well. They're a little bit spoiled. They're not real likable characters, at least not for me. And that's intentional. It's because it's a little bit of torture porn, which is also again not my genre.
Torture porn by murderous plants.
The concept is brilliant.
Yeah.
The execution of the concept is brilliant. He did a great job with that. So it's just I felt myself, I guess, bored is the word to put it. Not because he's not a great writer, not because the concept isn't great. It's just not a story for me. But if you really want to see some semi-likable characters go through some really horrible stuff.
Semi-likable.
Yeah. I mean, they're not terrible characters. They're not like horrible people. They're just not people I want to hang out with.
Yeah, I have not read this book in years, but that was my same takeaway. Really well written, a lot of great suspense and moments of terror. At the end of the day, you don't really like, and especially.
But if you like your horror to be bloody and to really go after you,
they weren't. Really
it wasn't. And I was actually expecting worse. I was expecting it to be in terms of the physical, gratuitous violence. It actually wasn't as bad as I was expecting based on some reviews I've seen. I was okay with it. But it just wasn't drawing me in. But if it sounds like something that you'd be interested in, the murderous plants that are maybe sentient and are just messing, not even just killing them, just like absolutely messing with them.
I wouldn't say maybe sentient. They are. I'd say they're sentient because they have that one scene there where they were mimicking a cell phone call. Yep. And they lured the guy down there because he thought it was a cell phone.
Execution awesome. It's just not for. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. So I have two very brief reviews, just some things I've really enjoyed. Actually, three that I've really, really enjoyed so far. First of all, if you have not seen Chucky on USA Sci-Fi, what's wrong with you? I love all the Chucky movies unapologetically. I do have to say that I would not love them if it wasn't for Brad Dourif. I mean, Brad Dourif and then Tiffany. What's her name? No, Tiffany's the character's name. I can't believe I'm blanking. Yeah, Jennifer Tilly. Brad Dourif makes Chucky. That's the only reason why it's so funny. But I will say this: the series is actually better than any of the movies. Because it takes what's schlock and it takes the icon of Chucky and tells an actually really great story with a lot of pathos. And I would say it's actually probably the best rendition I have seen so far of two gay characters in a series. I mean, just very well done. Not loaded down by a lot of tropes. And there's a season 2, so I can't wait for that.
Chucky's always been a weird thing for me because that's what the C in CW stands for.
Charles.
Charles, but I was always Chucky growing up.
It's just really, really great. And like I said, it's actually better than the movies. I think because of the series format, it allowed us to tell some arcs that were actually pretty powerful. There's actually a lot of substance to this show. The second thing I liked was, of course, the third season of goodness gracious, why am I blanking?
Because it's late.
No. Oh, what's it on Shudder? It's not Tales from the Crypt. It's Creepshow. Yes, sorry.
Yep.
The third season of Creepshow is great. Really, really enjoyed that as well. Just really nice set pieces. And finally, if you haven't checked out Behind the Monsters on Shudder yet, it's a really good documentary. It goes and looks in depth at all of the iconic horror monsters and how they were created. And it's really, 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 a lot of the stuff I already knew, a lot of the stuff I didn't know. So I really enjoyed it.
I also mentioned stuff I'm kind of looking forward to. I've been extremely busy getting Sticks and Stones, the book. Next week, next year. Yeah, getting that ready and also just work in general. But my wife has been doing graduate school, so we're getting ready to, over Christmas break, actually watch some shows that we've been meaning to catch up on. And we have a new puppy. He's adorable. You can find him on my Instagram page and Facebook page stuff. But no, new season of Lock and Key came out.
Oh, that was great too. Yeah, I finished that. That was awesome.
Yep, I saw season 1. I liked season 1. I want to watch season 2. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, season 3 was great. Season 3, I thought no, wait. This was season 2.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought season 2 amped up a lot of the stakes. Really liked the character development. I like to think of Lock and Key as like Stranger Things light.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, really enjoyed season 2.
And this is one, maybe we'll hold off. Maybe we'll talk about this in the next session, because you guys, I know you've watched it. Midnight Mass. I've heard a lot of good things.
Probably not. Have you watched it yet?
Yeah. So this is on my list of things to watch, and this is top 3 for me. Over the Christmas break, January, I want to watch it. It's up there.
I'll tell you, it's polarizing. It really is. I just love. We'll save that for another show.
Let me watch it. Maybe Tom will watch it as well.
Oh yeah.
But I've heard. Yes, I've heard some people who hated it. I heard long dialogue, but I heard people who were like, "This is the best thing ever." And this won't come out for a while, but I saw there was a new game coming out from the creator of Silent Hill called Slitterhead. I think I should show these guys the trailer after this. It's out there. So if you're a gamer and you love horror games, go look up Slitterhead. The trailer just dropped.
So this reminded me of a couple of things, but I'm going to save it till the end. So we're going to get back into the Night House and see what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, so we've reached the end of the Night House, and after what seems like a very long streak, we have ourselves a winner of a movie. Chuck, your thoughts?
It was so good. We actually didn't polish 3/4 of the way through like we usually do.
We just wanted to plow through to the end, yeah.
Actually, I'm going to pass it to Tom, because I'll...
Go ahead, Tom.
It was a good fact before me not writer. And threw out some really good things. I actually thought, at the beginning, my original thought was ripping off of so it really did come off very good. Potential allegory. Well, it was a good movie. It was horror. It was psychological.
Mm-hmm.
I think it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. This is probably a lot of horror movie enthusiasts will say this after you've seen enough horror movies, you get a little jaded here and there and things like that. And it's not often that I sit and get a little tense during a movie. And there are some moments in this movie where I wasn't sure what I was going to see. Now, and they didn't end up cheapening those moments with jump scares, but there was some legitimate tension, visually, what am I going to see next? And as far as the plot, I'll let Chuck go with this. But it was a very smartly written movie. Characters, their responses. Go ahead, Chuck. You take off that.
So I'm not patting myself on the back when I say this, but this is the kind of movie I would write. I got that same feeling when I watched A Quiet Place, and it's the kind of they say write what you love or the stories you want to see. And this is the kind of story I want to see. I loved it. It was fantastic. I adore this movie, and it's also one that I would recommend not only for horror fans, but for your horror adjacent fans. Yeah, those who are willing to go down a little creepy lane
because of that mystery and trying to
Yep. And there's an emotional toll here it's more than just scares.
Yes.
But it was something that was brilliant. I guess we're gonna give the big spoiler flag here so we can actually talk about some stuff. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Okay. If you stayed, it's your fault.
It's your fault. For those of you who've already seen it before, welcome. It struck me as an allegory that's going on here. There is that supernatural aspect. Now, Tom was actually just asking me how I kind of put together what was going on. It was still brilliantly done, even though I was starting to get a good feel for what was happening. It was an allegory for the depression, the suicidal thoughts that she has. And the ending was perfect for me. If she had killed the villain, it's too easy. If she killed herself, if we feel like nothing was achieved, she put the gun down because someone intervened, and it's still left lingering, and it's still haunting there, and they can't quite see it, but she can. It's a perfect balance that's there and very realistic. But the question Tom asked was, when did you put it all together? This is kind of a writing thing that's there. Everything that goes into the Chekhov's gun rule. If you stop to put something, if you put something significant and you focus on something, it has to have a payoff.
Yeah.
They paused to mention that she had almost died, or she had actually died. She had physically died and got through it. And her realization from that was there was nothing. So you have not only her death, which is a plot moment that was left open, but also that kind of thematic aspect of there's nothing beyond death. Both of those had to close, and then you had the fact that they were driving her husband's reputation into the gutter. That has to bounce back somewhere, or it has to find a value and keep continuing on that trajectory. Usually it will bounce back at some point, because otherwise it doesn't feel fulfilling. It feels like it didn't go anywhere. So it made sense that he was actually, as I mentioned in our intermission, in a protector role. He's not a good guy, but he's in a protector role. And the other clue was the puzzles, kind of trapping the spirit. There's the paranormal aspect of it, which they didn't dive into, which I'm happy about, because it leaves you wondering.
Right, they didn't over-explain. Yeah, that was enough there for us to.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess
there was no exposition.
Right.
Yep. So I guess it's kind of a peek behind the curtains of putting this story together. Those are the clues that were there to bring it where it was going to go. But even if you saw where those clues are going, it was still brilliant. This was so well executed. What did you guys like about the movie?
I like the fact that,
Mhm.
and how they can create a yak fest, if you will, or God forbid, if you have more independent fan films, they're terrible. I think this is one of those gems that they put out.
Yeah.
And we do see them. The only problem is I don't think they get enough fanfare.
Yeah.
I just loved, like, everything you said about it. I loved the tension. I loved the concept. It wasn't and I have to say that one of the things I loved about this movie is every 25 minutes or so, I'm thinking to myself, I didn't see that. I didn't expect that either. And that's hard to do, and also too, a movie like this, I mean, obviously this is one of those points of contention that there's never going to be, people. Should a movie end depressing? Is ending it not depressing and uplifting? Is that we have fans of all kinds. A movie like this could have kept getting darker and darker and darker with no sun rising in the morning. And it did, but I think also, as you pointed out, we have enough resolution there to feel that catharsis, to not feel totally like, oh, this is nihilistic, bummed out, but also the realistic, again, the allegory that grief and that sadness or whatever is never going to quite go away, and maybe you're the only one that can see it, but the fact that she said no to it, even though she could still see it afterward, it gave us that closure and that feeling of, okay, we didn't just go through 2 hours and have this terribly depressive ending, but it also wasn't a Pollyanna ride into the sunset, flowers, birds chirping. There was a realistic tone to it at the end.
Yeah, I guess two other points for this is one, everyone who acted in this movie was fantastic, but Rebecca Hall was the star, and she knocked it out of the park.
Absolutely.
She was wonderful in this movie. She owned it. And the other thing is, I commented several times while we were watching, and it was smartly written. The characters acted like intelligent human beings.
Yeah.
You see the. I mean, as a
logical choice.
Yeah,
things that people would do.
Yeah, me as a person sitting there actually sees, for example, they know there's a depression situation going on, and a woman in a tough situation sees what I recognize is as the lock from a gun, and sees it unlocked, and the character, who's a secondary character, logically thinks this is bad. She's got the gun. In so many movies, that just flies over the head of the character, but it was actually really nice to see all the characters acting like human beings with brains.
Yes, we highly recommend this. It's on Amazon Prime.
No, some that's hilarious. Well, they played
So as we close off, I told you we'd have some more minor recommendations for you as we close off, or not many recommendations, but we talked halfway through about Midnight Mass, but then after we stopped rolling, I reminded Chuck that Mike Flanagan has another project coming up where he's called The Fall of the House of Usher, where he's mixing several Poe's stories together, and one of
Poe Mike Flanagan. I can picture like the meme where you take like the character takes the two little dolls and just makes them kiss. I mean, that's perfect for me.
Well, also what Mike Flanagan has shown a really great, was really adept at like for example, The Haunting of Hill House was an amazing reimagining of the novel, where it's almost like he took the novel, chopped it all up, put it into a blender, and what came out was just as marvelous. It was completely different, but it's just as marvelous as the movie. The Haunting of Bly Manor was really not only the turn of the screw, but there's also two other stories there written by what's his name? I don't know why. Henry James.
Yeah.
There's also two other stories that are written by Henry James that he added. So he does a great job of, and also let's not forget about Dr. Sleep, where somehow he was able to take the original Shining, then the movie version of The Shining, then the TV miniseries of The Shining, and then the novel Dr. Sleep, and somehow meld that all into a really good movie. The idea that he's going to take several Poe stories and do the same thing, and then he's also cast Mark Hamill.
I hadn't heard that till you told me, but
that's just beautiful.
That warms my heart.
Beautiful. And I think the caretaker in this movie, what's his name? We were going to look at I think he's cast in it too, I think.
Really?
I think so.
If you see me on the phone during these things, it's because I'm looking up information. The character was Bondi Curtis Hall, who I mentioned was he was in Firefly, and he was also in, what was the show? Daredevil.
Yes, as Ben Urich. He played Ben Urich in Daredevil. I think I was cast in it too, so looking forward to that. All right, do we have any other closing comments?
No, this was one
Excellent.
One of the best movies I've seen in a long time.
Probably the best one we've seen since Cold Skin. Cold Skin was good.
I did like Cold Skin. This is a movie I'm going to be recommending to a lot of people.
All right, absolutely. All right, so until next time, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays.
Drink and be scary.
That too.